And welcome back. This is now time for your Betfred Super League Week 12 debrief. And what an interesting fixture we've got starting off for round 12. We have Wakefield Trinity at home to Hull FC. Of course, no real surprises over the weekend results from round 11, whilst everyone was probably having a shocking with the tipping, not necessarily hitting 5 out of 6 or even the clean sweep. There was still a very predictable result. Warrington running over the top of Wakefield Trinity, 32 points to 18. But the real surprise, Hull FC upsetting the Wigan Warriors, 14 points to 10.
That was a very surprise result. No one would have seen that one coming, especially the way that Hull FC have been playing compared to Wigan.
Well, the fact they beat Huddersfield the week before the international break, they got that a good week underneath their belt. Then they came back in trying conditions at the MKM Stadium in West Hull, and they were only missing Liam Marshall, the Warriors. That was only the only England international that was probably missing out of a near complete side they could possibly field at that time. But you're absolutely right. Wigan just couldn't break Hull down one single bit. And I got to give credit where credit is due. Jake Clifford, I mean, we've knocked him pillar to post. He was looking promising in the first 2 weeks. Then, of course, a 7-game losing run after that, followed by another 2-game winning run. But one try assist, 28 running meters, 3 tackle breaks, 1 line break, and 3 from 3 goals converted. Just a massive effort from the Hull FC number 7.
Yeah, he certainly did put in a massive effort, and that's what got him to the upset victory.
Just played to the conditions. He forced a kick-off for Darnell McIntosh in traffic. In traffic, mind you. Now, any one of those Wigan players on the right side defensively, they could have easily rushed up, knocked it down, or forced Clifford into changing his mind about putting that kick in. But he got it away, and McIntosh reaped the benefits for it.
And it paid off. Absolutely
Wigan had so many opportunities, but the problem was they were playing in dry weather football in wet weather conditions, and it just didn't come off for them.
No, like wet weather footy is a different game, different type of game to what it is when it's a dry weather footy. Like the ball's slipperier, the ground's slipperier, it's raining, so you got your high kicks will have an effect, and your goal kicking, and everything's affected by it. So you're gonna have to change to the conditions, and Wigan did not do that.
Well, it was good to see Ian Thornley come back again. And he's had a rough run with injuries over the last 2 years since leaving Lee, joined Wigan again, and just too much injuries. Like Dom Manfredi back a couple of years, just a veteran of the Wigan Warriors, but still suffering from long-term injuries. But he bagged a double himself. But they just couldn't win the game, even in the dying minutes of play.
No, and it's just, don't know what you could really put it down to, really. It's just Hull FC were probably the better side.
Now, Wakefield, of course, no real surprises. This is now their 11th straight loss of the campaign. None from 11, wedged to the bottom of the table with no real prospects whatsoever. 12 all they were at one stage against the Warrington Wolves, but that was really as good as it got, because the moment Kevin Proctor got red carded,
it was downhill from there.
Seriously, it went downhill very fast.
I'm surprised that Wakefield even got to be level with Warrington at that point at 12 all. Like, no one would have expected that. Everyone would have expected Warrington to held Wakefield to 0.
Or at least to a single try.
Yeah, but not two converted tries.
Look, I think it was an interesting tactic that Darryl Powell deployed, because he had Matt Duffy starting off the bench and Josh Pulis was playing fullback.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah, it was a very interesting call. A little bit bizarre, but nevertheless, it yielded results.
It's certainly
a double from Pulis playing fullback when he had, I believe, Matty Russell playing right wing with no Greg Minikin.
Yes.
And so having Duffy come off the bench, that proved to be an absolute luxury.
It certainly did. And, I mean, it was kind of a good time to test it out against the shittest side in the Super League. So you might as well make the most of it.
They do, who have essentially testing out any possible injury scenarios you got going for.
Exactly, you might as well. When you got playing against the shittest team in the comp.
Now, I was tossing up between whether the name George Williams, the stand-up player for Warrington, but I've ended up going with Matty Ashton instead.
Oh, bloody hell.
Another solid effort on the left edge winger. 2 tries, 202 run meters, 4 tackle breaks, and making 5 tackles in the and just another solid effort.
But what about his tries, though? Unbelievable. Like one going in, well, I think he flew through the air and just made it in or whatever it was. That was unbelievable effort there from Matty Ashton. And credit to him, and that's why he's one of the best winners.
And once again, another good bounce back from the Warrington Wolves after those couple of hiccups again against Wigan and St Helens in back-to-back weeks.
But they're still on top of the table.
Well, thanks to Wigan's loss, they actually are back to top of the table.
Well, yeah.
But Wakefield, things are still not going their way. Not just on terms of on-field, but the run of injuries they are suffering. It just keeps mounting up. Now Reece Lynn is said to miss up to a month of rugby league moving forward. So that includes their Challenge Cup tie they've got next week and the next 3 Betfred Super League fixtures after that. And then Liam Kay went down injured, and then Samisoni Lang. Well, they're actually saying he could be back in the centres, which would actually be well timed. But
there's
Liam
also
Kay was forced off the field with injury, so not good. And Luke Gale, they said he could make his first appearance against Hull FC this coming Friday.
there you go. But also, you mentioned to me off air about Wakefield announced the departure of a player heading out to Australia.
Yes, Wakefield did finally confirm that Lewis Murphy will leave the club to join the Roosters in the NRL in 2024. Of course, no official announcement from the Roosters yet. They'll probably wait to see if there's an Australian agent attached to Murphy that wants to sign off on all the paperwork. But the bottom line is we do know where Lewis Murphy will be playing football in 2024. That's just poor form from Wakefield, to be honest.
Yeah,
This was their rookie of the year, clearly their best player all year long, and they let him out the door.
But
They
why
did
would you want to
not
stick around?
Fight harder to keep him on.
Well, maybe he's seen, right, we're playing shit. We're going to go to the championship. I want to get out of here while I can. That's probably he's thinking about it, maybe.
Well, the deadline is apparently from May the 1st, you can negotiate to join a club in 2024. That's the way it works in the United Kingdom. If you're off contract in a particular year, come May 1, you're allowed to negotiate with anyone you want to sign for the next year.
Well, he's certainly done that.
Yes.
Only a few
It's
days
just
into
rather
the month.
unfortunate. He's done his ACL practically within the first 3 rounds.
Yes, it's unfortunate, but hey,
So that
he'll
really,
come out to Australia. They'll make sure he's 100% right before coming back into it.
Now, if you asked me 3 weeks ago where I would probably see this one going, I would honestly have said Wakefield are the better side at the moment. I mean, they hadn't won a game, but at least they'd been going a lot better than, well, to be fair, Hull was in a hole all of its own. But, yeah, no, I think with Jake Truman coming back, it provided a point of difference for Tony Smith to finally get something going his way.
Well, even if he
for
did
once.
get a yellow card and go to the sin bin.
Look, Wakefield, I think they're going to hit the worst league record imaginable. Because after the cup break, their next league game is in the south of France against the Catalan Dragons.
Mm-hmm. No contest.
Hull FC for me win this. 13. No, actually, I'm going to say 13-20. I think they had a whole host of key players ruled out for so long. They're starting to get them back. They could potentially make a run up to the ladder, but they are definitely in a better place than what they were before.
But it is on that artificial turf.
Yes,
And are Sky Sports going to pull the game from their telecast and put it to another one like they did a couple of weeks ago?
Tune in this week on Wakefield Turf Wars. Will the artificial hybrid turf of Bellevue hold up again? Or will the RFL get an independent pitch inspector will say, that shit ain't gonna fly? Now,
Yep.
more than likely, the RFL have probably already discussed things with Wakefield and said, look, that pitch is all right. But if there's major backlash in one particular game, we got to make a call.
Yeah.
And I think Hull know exactly what the game plan is. They'll follow Huddersfield's lead to what they did in round 3. They'll just wear protective gear to prevent and serious grass burns and injuries to the best of their abilities.
Yeah. Hull will see wins 113 and 20. And they won't be up near 20, but they'll be closer to the 13 than what they will be to 20.
Now moving on to the Saturday morning fixtures. First of the non-telecast, the Huddersfield Giants back at home against the rampaging Lee Leopards. Of course, Huddersfield nilled by Hull KR 28-0, whilst the Leopards got the job done against Castleford 30 points to 6.
Well, to be quite honest, we would have expected that result from the Leopards over Castleford. But Huddersfield to get nilled by Hull KR in what was treacherous conditions, that was a bit of a shock to the system.
Yeah, I definitely say it was. Huddersfield just didn't look likely of putting a single try on.
No.
They didn't.
Again, Hull KR adapted to the conditions better than what Huddersfield
And
did.
the fact that the Robins lost Lachlan Coote early on in the peak, you would have thought losing an important player, especially a fullback like that, that would have hurt your side majorly. This was 7 minutes in, so you're thinking, if you're thinking of this from the Giants' point of view, you've now got 73 minutes where you can absolutely put the home side through the ringer.
But,
I'm deadly
They
serious.
yeah, they could have, but they didn't.
And this was compounded off the back. They said Willie Peters then confirmed in press later on that Coote did his hamstring and he reckons it will be a couple of weeks. This is off the back of losing Jordan Abdul for a month and a half with a quad injury. So their one of their key players at fullback goes down 7 minutes in, on top of their best player being ruled out for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And
But-
they still managed to nil what we've reckoned is a league heavyweight or a contender at this
Yeah.
point.
Well, enter Ryan Hall into the equation,
Well,
which we'll touch on. Yeah. But how many tries did he's good at long range effort?
yeah, Ryan Hall, definitely one of Hull KR's best. There's 2 tries, 182 run meters, 2 tackle breaks, and an offload. The second one coming via a Jake Connor loose pass that ended up being a very long-range intercept try. Just wound the clock back down.
Yeah, bloody oath. And no one could stop him.
No, and James Batchelor, he had a good knock as well. Rowan Milnes, I give him credit. Short kicking game, played well to the conditions, and Batchelor reaped the benefits of 2 tries to his name.
Exactly right.
There's another one Wakefield let go.
Yep. They're dropping like flies from Wakefield.
Meanwhile, despite an early scare from the Castlewood Tigers, Lee were relatively untroubled for the rest of the game.
Yeah. They were just in superb form and capitalised on how bad Castleford have been playing all season.
The key men in O'Brien, Ben Reynolds were really running the side and the show. From Reynolds with a sharp shooting, O'Brien with the line break. I could easily point it to either one of them and said, this was the Leopards' main man to go to. Lachlan Lamb, Edwin Apape, John Asiata, they played their part. Just moved the big Castleford forward pack around and really troubled them and were changing direction. And then they were able to break through at the key moment. But I'll tell you what, someone who's really underrated, we haven't really touched on him, Kai O'Donnell. I reckon he was Lee's best on show over the weekend. 1 try, 102 run meters, 4 tackle break, a line break, and 2 offloads.
Solid performance and underrated, like you said.
Most meters made by any Lee forward to that point. But
Very solid.
when you're allowing, essentially, players the size of Arvasi Amanafanai to crash over at close range, you know you're in trouble. And maybe it would have been a little bit hesitating to rush Andy last into the permanent job, but nothing's really changing.
No, not really. But at least, and he is going to coach for the next couple of years, as we already know. So he can kind of there's no way Castleford's going to make the playoffs this year. So he can kind of start moving things around, get the combinations right, head into next season, and like kind of start the real building phase now instead of at the start of next year and in the off season.
Well, with that start, he's going to be without Greg Eaton for up to a month after he pulled a calf injury during the loss. But the good news is that Mahe Fanua could be back for this Saturday's clash against the Catalan Dragons after being away on compassionate leave. As for Huddersfield, they're going to be without Matty English after he suffered a concussion. So 11-day stand-down policy for Matty English.
Yep.
Now this is a little interesting here. Because players now must pass the 12-day return to play protocol before playing again after suffering concussion. So the RFL must have tweaked the policy according to Love Rugby League's casualty ward that instead of the 11-day stand down, it's now up to 12.
There you go. NRL will probably adapt to that as well.
I wouldn't be surprised. One comp tends to lag behind the other in certain areas.
Yeah. But this one, the way that Huddersfield got nilled and how Lee thumped their way to victory, you think that Lee will be the favourites heading into this match?
I have no doubt the Leopards are, in fact, the short odd odds favourites to get the job done at the John Smith Stadium. I don't know what Huddersfield can do after their attack broke down completely. Their defence went from 100 to 0 in a matter of minutes. I really don't know how you claw your way back from that.
No, it's going to be a tough ask for Huddersfield, and they will know what the Leopards have been doing this season, and especially against last week. So I'm going to go say the Leopards win this one 7-12.
Yeah, I agree. 2 tries in it. Lee get another win on the board. And when you put this into context at the moment, the Leopards are on a 3-game winning run inside the top 6. Only just 1 win ahead of the reigning champion St. Helens. Huddersfield, because they've struggled with consistency, have now dropped up to as low as 9th on the table with back-to-back losses and only 2 wins in the last 5.
Wow. And here's me thinking I'm going to take it at League Leadership at the start of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still doable, but they'll need to quickly turn around.
Huddersfield still have a game that they have to catch up on.
True. Still no announcement on that yet.
I would imagine sometime during the Challenge Cup knockout periods,
You
depending
reckon?
who gets through.
I'd say it'd be after.
If Saints and Huddersfield don't make it in round to the quarterfinal stage, I reckon that's when you'd organise the round 1 fixture to be played.
Although St. Helens will more likely go through to the quarterfinal stages than what Huddersfield will. But it is the Challenge Cup. Anything can happen.
Yes, anything can happen. And speaking of things that can happen, Castleford will play the Catalan Dragons as well. I must say, one of the more interesting side notes in rugby league history happened and in the warm-up at the Star Gilbert Brutus, where players almost got gored.
By a bull.
A loose ball at that. I mean, how in the hell do you let a ball like that get loose in a stadium? I mean, I've heard of ball in a china shop, but I've never heard a ball in a football stadium.
No, it's something quite different and unique, you could say.
Well, Matej Kavalu, he certainly got a good initiation to the south of France.
Well, exactly right.
That was his debut game, and he was like, how many times would you say in your lifetime that you had to run from a ball on a footy field?
Probably once.
Never.
Or never, yeah.
He's probably amongst the very few that can actually say that he ran from a ball at a footy stadium.
Well, you think you see it all, right? You think you have seen it all.
It's the greatest sport
but then
on the
you
planet
throw
because it's
something
just
else
fine.
into it.
There is always something that just makes you go, that is rugby league.
Well, okay, you think you wouldn't see a bull run right on a stadium in France. You think more in Spain when they have the bull run things through.
Well, Catalonia, the closest part of Spain to the south of France.
That's probably where the bull was running away from.
They had a good result over the defending champion St. Helens, walking away 24-12 victors.
That's a bit of a surprise result, to be quite honest with you. I thought St. Helens would have gone across there and won that one, but and a little bit closer than 2 tries, but
Well,
no.
I definitely think they lost their way a little bit at the back end of the first half, right? They're up 12-0. Alex Walmsley comes back in and he causes absolute mayhem and crashing his way through to score the opening try after
Typical
20 minutes.
Walmsley style.
Then Wellesby backs up and you think, at 12-0, you're thinking St. Helens are going to absolutely turn it on here and burn the out-of-form Dragons to no end.
Bum, bam, you're on.
No, but I think they lost their way. They copped a yellow card late in the first half, within the final 10 minutes of that, and I think the Dragons just pounced from there.
Pretty much.
Especially the Catalan right side. They just went at Will Hopewadi and at Tommy Makinson out of that side, because, of course, T. Ritson was playing on the right-hand side.
Yep.
But it just fell apart for the Saints. They built up to a lead, only for Catalan to claw their way back into it, and then carry on with the job in the second half.
Well, Archie Moore got a try at fullback, or from fullback. That was a pretty easy try for him to score, to be quite honest.
I think the most had a lot of work to do with his tries, and he was definitely the Dragons' best. Tom Davies, 2 tries, 117 run meters, 8 tackle breaks, and a line break to his credit.
And I think he got 1 try denied off him too.
And one of the interesting thing, I think that's probably one of the rare few times all the big names of the Catalan Dragons were actually out on the park. So I'm talking not just Archie Morg, but Mitchell Pearce, Sam Tompkins off the interchange. And I believe I didn't see Tyrone May in the lineup. You never know. I mean, they announced the squads 24 hours before kickoff anyway, so it's always a little bit questionable, or if you've got the most accurate, up-to-date information, but we do try.
Yeah. But yeah, it's with Catalan's being so, inconsistent with their lineups, you could say. I mean, they try and have the same 13 week in, week out, same 17. But injuries and suspensions, and that means they haven't been able to do that. And after pretty much the best 17 possible at the moment, that's the best. That's almost, we know what they are capable of doing.
Yeah, well, just actually looking at the squad, Tyrone May didn't play, in spite of the fact that there was no Michael McAlorum, no Mathieu Laguerre, no Mikhail Gudimon, and a couple of other handy backs in Arturo Romano and Tanguy Senon.
Well, there you go.
So Catalan were very much up against it, welcoming back Mitchell Pearce, Manu Ma'u, Julian Bousquet, and of course Magic Abalu playing his first game for Steve McNamara's side.
And that will be all probably coming back from the France test game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a good effort for the for the Catalan, I should say, not for the Saints, but they just let that lead slip on them.
Which is not like the Saints at all, because they usually get the lead and push on with it.
Well, maybe like the Penrith Panthers, they too are starting to struggle.
But they're still got a game yet to play as well.
Yeah, so we really don't know how they're going to look on the table until they get that extra game sorted on them, but they're just not... Well, they're still a threat, but they're mid-table at the moment. I mean, sitting 7th, just outside the table, and aren't looking too
Is it
convincing
maybe because they're still adapting to how Paul Williams coaches compared to how Christian Wolf?
I just think they're brought back to the field and they're not exactly the same force they were for the last 4 years.
True.
That's all it is. That's exactly.
That's right, because they're gunning for the 5th straight title.
Yeah, so I believe the Catalan Dragons get the win on this trip to the United Kingdom because we have accidentally jumped the gun. The main game on Sky Sports cameras will each of the
what was the margin for Catalans over Castleford?
7-12, Catalan win.
What? I'm going to say Catalans win this one 21 plus. 13-20.
Well, we did in fact jump the gun over the Wigan Warriors and the Leeds Rhinos, which we will see in front of the Sky Sports cameras.
Wigan will be looking to bounce back after what happened to them.
A poor wet weather showing against Hollow Sea in a game they probably should have won.
But Leeds will
Meanwhile-
also be looking to bounce back after losing to Salford 22-12.
I think they're ill-disciplined with the amount of penalties they gave away. They literally gave away a try's worth of penalties there. They gave away 3 penalties, to which led Mark Sneed just kicking
A
goals.
tries 4. He said tries worth of penalties. That's 4.
Converted tries worth.
Oh, right.
You
Sorry.
cannot do maths.
Sorry.
Dear God.
So that's 6.
Anyway, but apart from that, I think this is once again highlighting the Leeds Rhinos' inconsistency on a week-by-week basis.
Yeah, had to say how well they are going to be going this year. It's just inconsistency and very hard to get a read on. One, they could go on a bit of a winning streak, then they can go on a bit of a losing streak. It's just all 1-1.
It's just too hard to predict, and you really can't afford to mess that one up.
They're basically what team did we say that was inconsistent last year of winning? Was it Warrington as they had a bit of inconsistency?
No, Warrington were consistently rubbish. That's what they were.
Yeah, but who was the team that was a bit hot and cold? There was a team that was winning one week, losing the next. It was a bit hot and cold. It wasn't Orion, it was someone else. Might have been Castleford last year. Anyway, they're just too hot and cold to read.
Well, I think Leeds tried to force the ball, and they were playing without Aiden Caesar, and then Jack Sinfield went down in that game as well. So that's 2 halves missing for Rowan Smith heading into this next
Was
game.
it Austin and that? So yeah, still got Caesar though.
Yeah, they still got Caesar. He's carrying a dead leg. That's all Rowan Smith said about it. He's carrying a dead leg. As for Jack Sinfield, he was brought in to fill the void left by Caesar, but he left also failing a HIA, so he's now out for 12 days as well. With Wigan and a Challenge Cup round 6 tie coming up over the next 2 weeks, you would hope that something good comes for the Leeds Rhinos.
Well, who would you place if Austin is out and
More than likely, they'll do the same thing they did in the grand final last year. Blake Austin moves to scrum half, and they'll have no
but if
choice
he's
but
out
to move
injured-
Cameron Smith
but if
to
he's
standoff.
But if he's out, then who are you chucking then?
It's only Caesar and Sinfield that'll be missing. Austin's
Oh,
still
Caesar,
there.
sorry. I thought
Aren't you listening?
no, I just got me halves mixed up. Sorry.
But speaking of halves, I believe it was Mark Sneed that proved to be a major difference for Salford again.
Sneed.
Yes, well done. You got that one right, monkey. Anyway, 84 run meters, 1 try assist, 18 tackles in defence, as well as the crucial 5 from 5 goals converted. Similar amounts of tries, but ultimately it was the goal kicking of Mark Sneed that well and truly separated the two sides on this occasion.
Salford are starting to find a little bit of form at the moment, and that win helped them as well. Yes, we'll touch on in a second about the matchup, but they're starting to get a bit of form tracking, which is nice to see, considering where we were at the start of the season where we couldn't even name a full squad.
Well, there's still injury concerns.
Yes, I know.
Lingering over Salford, it's seemingly like a weekly basis.
Oh,
This, as we were just saying off there, this time it's Ryan Briley that's now facing an indefinite stint, it seems, on the sideline. He passed his HIA, but he suffered an eye injury, which no
Isn't very
timeline
good.
indicated.
by the way, my tip was Wigan over 7-12. Sorry, I didn't mention
We haven't
it.
got onto that point
Oh,
yet.
sorry.
But you, all right, so that's out
No,
of the way.
hang on. I thought that's game we were discussing.
We were.
Yeah.
We were. As for Ken Seo, he's said to be out for a month with an ankle injury of falling down a pothole on the club's training pitch.
What's bad on the ground staff? The groundskeepers.
He fell into a pothole on your training pitch.
Yeah, that's something you don't hear every day, isn't it?
She's a funny game, rugby league.
But why wasn't the
well,
ground?
that is just...
Why-
That just beggars belief. How do you not mark a pothole correctly on a training pitch?
Well, why are you letting potholes in training pitches and not the ground staff repairing that pothole?
Aye, aye, aye.
Mate, that's two odd things over the last week of Super League action. A bull and now injury from a pothole in the turf.
As for the Leeds Rhinos, this is a game they can ill afford to drop, but I can't get a proper read on them.
No
Given
one
their
can.
consistency is so poor week by week. They could get one win one week, but then spend the next fortnight with a streak of red to their name.
Exactly.
I expect the Wigan Warriors to bounce back in fine order on a much drier track you would expect.
Well, it is England weather, so
Whether or not Liam Marshall is fit for this game, I think that's another matter entirely. The latest on Marshall is he could be back. He said as following the defeat at Hull, but
still a bit touch and
I
go.
wouldn't expect him to be back. I'd expect Ian Thornley to get at least another 80 minutes under his belt. Wigan 7-12 over Leeds.
Yeah, I've already mentioned mine.
Now, final two games. First of all, we've got the Warrington Wolves up against Hull KR. Of course, we saw how well Elder Robbins dispatched the Huddersfield Giants. But going up against Warrington, they will need to bring everything to the table.
They certainly will. Warrington are just been the class of the Super League so far this season. And this is going to test to see how well Hull KR really going this season.
Well, Daryl Powell is hoping that the bounce back they had against Wakefield translate to probably the most informed side in Super League at the moment. No questions about it. Hull KR are quickly becoming a contender with the stuff they've had under Willie Peters.
But will they be able to continue that on? That's the next question, though.
I think that's a fair question to ask. Of course, Warrington have been, probably by their standards they've set for themselves, disappointing.
Yes.
After dropping those two games to Wigan and to St Helens in consecutive weeks.
But they were tough games, though.
Oh, they were very tough games. Indeed, they were. But Hull KR has set a benchmark that they really only one win off the League Leader Shield pace. And they're for and against, whilst still behind that of both Wigan and Warrington. They can really close the gap if results go their way. Hell, they might even be top at the table if Wigan lose to Leeds and they can beat Warrington. How about that?
That'll be a bit of a surprise, but do you really see Warrington losing? Warrington. Wigan losing.
It could happen. I'm just saying that is a possibility.
It's depending on what
that
Leeds
Hull
side.
KR could be heading into the Challenge Cup weekend top of Super League. How many times have they been top of Super League in the past?
Not very often.
But it's a very good test for them. I think it'll be a very good game, but I think with the big forward pack and with all stars available, I think the Warrington Wolves will just have enough to get past them on this gritty, determined Robin side, 1-6.
I'm going to say this is, like I said, this is going to test the whole KR side. But I think Warrington will just be that little bit too good. Warrington 7-12. Just into the 7-12 bracket.
And finally, we on Channel 4, another Channel 4 free-to-air broadcast game across the United Kingdom, sees the reigning champions back at home once again up against the Salford Red Devils.
Yeah, without Briley and CO, I don't really like our chances. But in the final last year, without Brodie Croft, we did play all right. We nearly beat them, but just too many errors. So we know we can give it to the Saints, but with two key men out, that's going to be a bit more of an issue.
Well, there'll be no Mark Percival for up to 6 weeks for St Helens, and he's often been a crucial link on that left edge. And Sione Matautia, there's still no time frame for when he's going to recover following that horror concussion he suffered on Good Friday against Wigan. And I'm talking, it was
horrendous.
Ugh.
Yeah. Would you say maybe career ending?
Who knows?
If there's no time frame
I
on it?
really don't know if it's career ending for Sione Matautia. But that just means there's another opportunity for someone else to step up. Of course, James Bell playing loose forward in the absence of Morgan Knowles after he got suspended for up to 5 rounds, but he would be very close to a return, I'd imagine, of course, missing the 2 weeks leading up to the England and international window, missing the game itself, and then the one game after this. So 1 week away, it would be a perfectly timed boost for St. Helens, but not available for this game.
I don't think he'll be available for the Challenge Cup match either. If that goes, the suspensions count towards that.
League, International Cup matches, it all counts.
So it'll be the week after the Challenge Cup.
He's back for the Cup. This is his last week of suspension, I believe, if I got the maths right on it.
We'll wait and see, but I think it's the Challenge Cup draw will be back after.
No, I think he's back on the Cup draw.
Anyway.
Now, Saints, I think they really need to address their left side defence. I think Makinson and Hopewadi were easily the targets. It's for the Catalan right edge attack made up, of course, including Matty Cavallo. He got a try on debut in the south of France. Of course, Tom Davis bagged a double. Well, they were just peppering that right-hand side to nowhere. And especially considering that you got Lewis Dodd and I think not Joe Batchelor. No, hang on. I'll bring that back up. I'm pretty sure in the absence of Sione Matauti, it might have been Sam Royal, not Jake Winfield. So they had a rookie back rower in the side as well. So I think that left side really needs a little bit of work done. But I think there's still a lot of artillery in the Saints camp. Walmsley's gotten a good chunk of minutes under his belt once again. I think if he can get rolling early, Saints get rolling and will walk away with 2 points in my estimation.
Well, that didn't work for him last week against Catlins, though.
Well, I think they can sort of make a statement in here and take a stand to say, we are not done yet. We might be down on our luck, but we're not out of the race for 5
Oh, no, there's no
yet.
way you rule out the Saints this early on in the season.
Never write off the Saints. That's what I learned the hard way. So I'm going to back St. Helens 1-6.
Yeah, as much as I like to see the Red Devils get up, it's just going to be too much of an ask, especially like I said, without a strike weapon like CO and our fullback of Ryan Briley, who's been in pretty reasonable form at the moment. It's going to be a bit too hard. St. Helens 1-6 also.
Now, just one last thing. Speaking of keeping your job in order, and speaking of the Bulls, we're talking about Bradford here. They've just parted ways with their head coach, Mark Dunning, effective immediately.
Yeah, right.
So following the club's 46-12 defeat to the Barrow Raiders at the Matt Johnson Prestige Stadium, the club has decided, at sitting 8th on the table with 5 wins from 10 possible games played, they decided to walk apart, separate and walk their separate ways. Of course, Mark Dunning, for Bradford fans out there, he was appointed as the permanent head coach last year in July until the end of this year, but he's decided to walk away following the departure of previous coach John Keir.
There you go.
As of now, assistant coach Lee Greenwood will take over as interim head coach of the Bradford Bulls.
Well, you could say maybe the Catlands Bull was a sign of something, of a bull leaving the pen.
No, I don't think.
But in Bradford, not in...
In a statement, of course, or shared by loverugbyleague.com, Dunning noted that having been at the club 10 years, it has been an honour and a privilege to lead the club as head coach, and I would like to thank the performance staff, some often going above and beyond, and the players, and I wish all concerned the very best for the future.
Very well said. But effective immediately. I don't know why you just didn't see the season out, which is surprising.
The losses that the Bulls suffered over the course of the 2023 championship season to York, Featherstone, Keighley, Batley and Barrow, although they did knock off Toulouse in round 4.
That's one thing, but...
And their other victories including Whitehaven, Widnes, Sheffield and Halifax. And he hopes that the people of Bradford get the success they crave.
Well, being in Halifax is a bit of a good task, but losing to Featherstone, who are on top of their game at the moment, yeah, that's going to hurt.
Yeah, it does hurt. They lost to... Well, Featherstone is a real contender. But the fact that they've beaten Halifax and Toulouse, that says a lot about this Bradford Bulls side.
Because they're top contenders too, Halifax and Toulouse, in my view anyway.
But, yeah, that's just a cruel business. Whether you're NRL, Super League, Championship, or any of the reserve grades in this country, it's a cruel job being a head coach in charge of the first team. But on that bombshell, it is full time here from us. If you like this part or the NRL debrief that followed on from the day before, make sure you leave us a like, hit that subscribe button, and click the bell to allow for notifications so you never miss a week of rugby league action. Don't forget to give us a follow on our social media pages. We post all our tips and my stat and our players' leaderboards up there every week. On Facebook and on Instagram it is at Sideline Chat, and on Twitter it is at Sideline Chat RL, hashtag SideChatYT. Hope you enjoy all the action from around the world this week, but don't go anywhere because we got the Betfred Challenge Cup round 6 coming up next week, and it'll be interesting to see who progresses in the knockout stages. Along with Mark Henry, I'm Connor Marcellus, and you have been listening to the Sideline Chat. We'll see you next week.
Peace out.